Hi, my name is not Nelly, you can call me Anna. It has been almost a week since I read this book, and I've had a lot of time to think it over and get over the initial shock that I felt when reading this book. And I can now say that there were parts that I did enjoy, and mainly it was the Malfoys, and definitely Scorpius Malfoy. Everything that he said pretty much was my favorite thing. My sister actually said that she thinks that J.K. Rowling just wrote Scorpius and the other two authors wrote everything else. Even though I've had a lot of time to think about it and go over in my head and even like flicking through it again and figuring out what I enjoyed about it, it doesn't change the fact that I am still hugely disappointed with this book, which is why I decided to make a longer video just explaining to you and anyone who is interested why I didn't actually like this book initially. I still don't like it really. I only like Scorpius. So I'm going to explain why. So I've split this video up into three main sections. The first one is for the characterization in the play. This is involving mainly the characters that we know from the previous books like Ron, Harry and Hermione, but it also, I will touch on occasionally some of the characterization for the children of the next generation. The second part of the video is going to be all about plot holes, convenient plot devices to avoid plot holes, and generally just things that don't make sense. And the last section is what I have called poor writing decisions. So I'm going to get straight into this and start explaining to you the characterization in this book. My first point is that the Malfoys were realistic and pretty much the only characters I felt were true to themselves in this book. I think that if there were rumors about Scorpius being Voldemort's son, then yes, Draco would be annoyed and he would not like it and he would want people to stop making up these rumors. Draco's also trying to be a better person after the war and everything happened. Draco realizes that it's not the right side, and like even while the war was happening, I'm a believer that he could tell that he was on the wrong side, and not just because it was losing but because it was actually the wrong side to be on. So he's realizing that, trying to be a better person, and I really felt like that could be seen in this book. And I like how Scorpius wasn't a bad character at all. Like he was a good guy and he was a geek and a nerd and just kind of generally funny and sarcastic and generally like amazing. I was talking to my sister about this to try and like get it all clear in my head, and I was like, if I could just rip Scorpius out of this play and just have him sitting on my shelf separately, that would be great, because the rest of it is just trash. Anyway. I'm sure that a lot of people have already discussed this, but my main issue with this, the thing that I read and I cringed immediately, and it was awful. It was like, whoa, no, was what Harry said to Albus. When Harry and Albus are having an argument and Albus is like, I just wish you weren't my dad, and Harry says, well, there are times I wish you weren't my son. I don't understand how anyone in their right mind could think that was a good idea. Harry would not say that to any of his children, even if he actually believed it, which I can't see him letting him lose that kind of control in an argument with a son and saying that to his face. That is probably one of my biggest issues with it, is just the fact that Harry is made out to be like this confused, like, I've got children, I don't know how to deal with them. Harry would be so hyper aware of the feelings of his children because of what he went through when he was growing up, and he would be aware of things that can be damaging. I cannot believe it for a second that he would ever say that to his son, because he would be too self-conscious about, you know, trying to make sure that his kids are loved. My other point is that Albus is so annoying in this book. He's so annoying, and it's like there's no reason, because I can't make it make sense in my head. Okay, Harry and Ginny would be an amazing couple and parents. They would be amazing parents to these kids that they have. And to have Albus growing up and being like, ugh, I feel no love. It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it's because we've just launched into this from when they're starting school and we haven't actually seen like the first 11 years of his life and haven't got the context and the character development there, but I can't make it make sense. I just can't accept it. The next point that I had was at the end of everything that had happened, Harry and Albus are talking, and there's a part literally where Albus is like, I almost destroyed the world. Yes, you did. You almost destroyed the world. It was terrible and a catastrophe and you were being a stupid idiot teenager. And then like they actually have this conversation where Albus is like, shouldn't I have done better? And Harry's like, you know, I asked myself those same questions. That's not the same situation. Harry was literally working to save the world, trying to defeat the big evil. Albus was just being an annoying whiny teenager doing things for himself and actually almost destroying the world. That is completely different situations, and I don't understand how they can relate them. It doesn't make sense. And then Albus never actually has to face the consequences for what he's done. He never gets punished or anything like that. It's just like, oh well, you had a great big ordeal and you almost destroyed the world, so the trauma must be enough for you to live with. Are you kidding me? Punish him, you're his father. He's like, what, 14? I hate it. this whole plot. Like, my next point is to do with Snape. Now, I know that a lot of people nowadays are still split on the Snape debate. I'm just gonna quickly sum up how I feel personally about Snape. My feelings are that Snape made good choices towards the end of his life and did things for the greater good. Yes, I'm using that phrase. He did things for the greater good. He made the right choices working with Dumbledore, but he was still a huge bully. That's how I feel about Severus Snape. And then to have in the book this line that says, Snape looks at him, every inch a hero. I also really did not like the fact that Hermione and Ron's relationship was pretty much trivialized to Ron's jealousy of Krum. At the Yule Ball, when Hermione goes with Krum, Ron gets jealous and realizes that he actually likes her. And from there, apparently, that's why they end up falling in love and getting married. But that's completely ridiculous. They fall in love because of everything that they've gone through together, like chasing the Horcruxes and defeating Voldemort and helping Harry, all of this. Does this ring a bell to you? Because this is what's happened and this is what they've gone through together. It's like when the trio fought the troll together and they became friends. That's what happens when you go through something. It forges deep bonds. I don't believe for a second that it was just Ron's jealousy of Krum that was the reason they got together. I would be willing to believe that without the jealousy of Krum, maybe it would take a bit longer for them to figure out how they feel about each other. But I still think that when Ron suggests at the Battle of Hogwarts that they need to get all the house elves out, Hermione would still kiss him. Don't pretend that Hermione wouldn't make a move first just because Ron doesn't. Sure, Hermione might be a bit annoyed at him for not making the first move, but she would still do it. She'd be like, I'm not just gonna wait around forever. Like, I'm gonna take control of my future. I felt like Ginny's character was not as good as in the books. It felt like every single character in this book, at least the characters that we know from previous books and movies, were based off the movie versions of themselves rather than the book versions. And that just made them feel flat and not full of depth. Ginny didn't feel as empowered as she normally is, and maybe that's shown better when you actually watch it on stage. I don't know. Ron was sidelined and I was really annoyed because he seemed to be just put down to comic relief again when he's so much more than that. And I'm really annoyed that they seem to base the characters off the movie version, which was so much worse than the book versions, which actually had depth. The next thing I would like to discuss is the Hogwarts trolley lady. Just the trolley lady. Just please explain that. I get that this is a magical world, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that she's over 190 years old. Do you actually believe that? That's just ridiculous. There is no way that that is real. I can't. That is not who she is in the books. I mean, sure, we don't actually see much of her at all in the books, but she's just a trolley lady. And now you're trying to add so much more depth and like, whoa, watch out guys, because if you try and escape the Hogwarts Express. Also, I'm sorry, but why on earth would Sirius Black and his cronies try and escape the Hogwarts Express? Let me just ask you that. Sirius Black in his horrible family going to Hogwarts, a place where he is loved and accepted. Why would you on the train journey to Hogwarts abort? Why would you leave and not go to school? And we're supposed to swallow this and accept this as real? I'm sorry, but I don't. I've written again here that Scorpius is the only good thing with his jokes and witty banter. A+. You get a point for Scorpius, but it doesn't make up for everything else that you did in this book. What is wrong with you? Who let this happen? I also have a big problem with Harry Potter being afraid of pigeons. It makes no sense. I know, I understand that some people have irrational fears of things which make no sense, and it's like, why are you afraid of that? It's like, well, I don't know, that just looks shifty. I get that, okay? But Harry Potter being afraid of pigeons makes no sense because it was never, literally never, ever, like even mentioned in previous books. Like if there was some kind of build up to it, but there was nothing. I would believe it. I would prefer it if it was something like, I'm afraid of bulldogs because I was once chased into a tree by my Aunt Marge's bulldog. Obviously he's not afraid of all dogs because Sirius Black turns into a dog and he's not afraid of that, but something that makes a bit more sense in this world would be appreciated. But I can't even say that that's the craziest thing because people do have irrational fears, and I believe Harry Potter being afraid of pigeons much more than I believe Voldemort having sex with Bellatrix Lestrange and having a daughter. I really disliked it when Albus was polyjuiced as Ron and was acting like really flustered and kind of dopey. I don't know if this is the right word, but just like really like, oh my goodness, Hermione, let's make out, let's just do whatever. And it felt again like the comic relief type thing, and it was just like, Ron is so much more than that. I really didn't like that Hermione didn't actually seem to find it that strange that Ron was acting like that. It kind of solidified the idea that that is how Ron would act because he's just so weird and crazy and whatever, funny and dumb. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the second section, which is all about plot holes and convenient plot devices which were put in just to avoid another plot hole, things that just don't make sense. The first point I've got here that doesn't make sense, and you're probably expecting it, is the fact that Voldemort has a daughter and she has blue and silver hair. Not only does this just not make sense, the big plot hole that I found with this is that it says Bellatrix apparently gave birth before the Battle of Hogwarts. Do you know what else happened before the Battle of Hogwarts? Harry, Ron and Hermione were captured by Snatchers and taken to Malfoy Manor, where Bellatrix Lestrange was. If Bellatrix was pregnant, they would have noticed. When they broke into Gringotts even, it would be like, Bellatrix, what are you doing? You're pregnant, go home, get some rest, you know, relax. Not only that, but once she has given birth, where on earth does the baby go? Does it go with the Rowls? Is that what we're supposed to believe? And does that mean that they don't fight in the Battle of Hogwarts? Are they still alive? When Death Eaters were getting rounded up after Voldemort was destroyed, do they just get missed? How do they hide? What happens? How do we not find Delphi until years later? I would expect to read about Voldemort having a daughter in fanfiction, and I wouldn't even mind it. I'd be like, wow, look at you go, creating, you know, new ideas in a world that you love, and writing stories and developing your writing abilities. It would be amazing. I'd be like, you know, keep at it, keep working, keep writing and getting better. But for JK Rowling and others to use this plot device in an actual play of a script that they're going to be performing and selling as a book, I don't buy it. It feels like they've gone, what would the fans like to see for the next generation of the Harry Potter world? Well, a lot of fan fiction has Voldemort having a daughter, so why don't we do that? Please stop. If anybody who makes TV shows, movies, book series, anything like that, if anyone like that is watching this video, please make them the way you want them. Your original vision for this is going to be better than anything the fans can come up with. This is your baby, your child. Do with it what you planned for it. Another plot hole that I noticed is when Albus, Scorpius and Delphi are going to take Polyjuice Potion to be Harry, Ron and Hermione and break into Hermione's office. Not to mention the fact that Hermione is now Minister for Magic. When she was a school student, she broke into the Ministry. If she was Minister for Magic, she would upgrade the security so that no one can break in again. Like, she would know how to do it because she was a student who broke in. I'm not even going to go into the fact that they had to break in and it was super easy. I'm not even going to discuss it. That's ridiculous. What I am going to discuss is the fact that they haven't been near Harry, Ron and Hermione ever since they started their plan. How did they get the hairs for the Polyjuice Potion? Not only that, but how did they make the Polyjuice Potion? Did they wait a month? We'll never know. I also have a question. If Delphi has grown up as an orphan, you know, maybe with the Rowls, wherever she was, whatever she was doing, how could she learn to fly if Voldemort and Snape are the only ones who knew how to fly and they weren't around to teach her? No one else knows how to fly. Is it just, are you telling me that it's in her DNA? She can just fly magically because Voldemort is her father? Am I supposed to accept that as true? The world of Harry Potter, I am not just going to accept things just because you throw them at me. I don't know if this is quite a plot hole or more the characterization of Delphi, but on pages 144 and 145, she is trying to like get Scorpius and Albus basically to like talk again and be friends again. But like if she's actually evil, why does she care about them being friends? Why doesn't she just team up with one of them and get the time turner? Like, how hard is that to do? Is there more depth to Delphi that you weren't showing us? Because I am confused and I want answers because none of this makes sense. Another question, and if you have an actual explanation for this, I would love to hear it. I want some of my plot holes to be blown up if you can do it. I don't know if you can, but page 309, when Harry is transfigured into the form of Voldemort so that they can convince Delphi that it's him, why does the transfiguration wear off? I don't understand this, okay? I'm just gonna give you an example. When they're breaking into Gringotts in book 7 and Hermione is polyjuiced as Bellatrix and they transfigure Ron's features with like a beard and stuff so that he looks really different so that they can go into Gringotts, you know, and no one will recognize them. It's never said anything about a time limit for transfiguration. Polyjuice has a time limit, but does Transfiguration actually have a time limit? Because if so, why have we never heard about a time limit before? This isn't really a plot hole, but when I was reading this and it's shown that the Sorting Hat is actually a man, and like I get that it's a play, so they're using like a man as the Sorting Hat to hold it and do the voice and stuff for it. I was like, why are you using a man? Like I get that it's a play and it's probably easier, but why couldn't it just be McGonagall holding the hat and having somebody off stage just doing a voiceover for the hat? How hard is that to just make it a little bit more magical and real? It's not a plot hole though, so like that's fine. Like I don't really care. But a big plot hole is Harry's scar hurting. Why does Harry's scar hurt? The Horcrux that was inside him is dead. Voldemort killed it. There is nothing left in the scar to hurt. Delphi is not Voldemort. Delphi is not a Horcrux. There is nothing that connects Delphi to Harry. So why does his scar hurt? If you can explain this to me, I would love to hear it because this is ridiculous. The last two things I just want to mention are the convenient plot devices that I noticed that were put in. First of all, the fact that people have been illegally creating time turners. They decided, you know, we smashed the time turners, but we want to use it, so we're just going to have people illegally making them. But to make sure that things don't get too out of control, the first one is going to have a 5-minute time limit. That's convenient. The next one is Harry's blanket. It has never been mentioned before as being important to Harry. He has gone through so many anniversaries of his parents' death, and he's never mentioned needing his blanket. And suddenly we're expected to believe that he needs this blanket and he likes to be near it on the anniversary of his parents' death. That is ridiculous, and I don't believe you. Again, I'm sorry, I just don't believe you. Where did this come from? That's just a convenient plot device to use to give to Albus so that then he has some way of getting a message to Harry when he's stuck in time. That's stupid, and I don't like it. You're expecting me to believe something without giving me reasons. Which brings me to the last part of this video, and that is the poor writing decisions. So these are not necessarily plot holes, and they're not necessarily bad characterizations. They're just things that happen, and I feel like it was just a bad idea. In general, it was just, that was a bad idea. Rose got a backseat. She doesn't like Scorpius, so she can't hang out with them and form a trio of magnificence. Why is Hermione the Minister for Magic? She was so passionate about Spew before the whole war thing happened. After the war is over and Voldemort's defeated, why would she not go back to that and try and change people's minds about house elves and other creatures? I actually put a post on Tumblr with a lot of like my own headcanons for the next generation because I needed something to take my mind off the cursed child. And one of the things that I said was that Hermione would work in a department of the Ministry for Magic called Committee for the Rights and Protection of Magical Beings and Creatures. I just think it would be a great idea to have Hermione work in the ministry but actually create her own department where she can do things like for Spew and actually help the house elves and things like that. I just don't like the idea that she would actually be Minister for Magic. I feel like Hermione should be following her passions, as well as Harry. I think Harry should be following his passions too. And there's another post on Tumblr which explains why Harry should actually be the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor at Hogwarts. I wholeheartedly agree, so if you want to check that out, the link's in the description. Another issue I had was when Albus and Scorpius messed up the timeline so that Voldemort Day existed. My problem is that they say for Voldemort and Valor. I feel like Valor doesn't work. Why would Voldemort care about Valor as much as say something like purity or blood? Why does it have to be alliteration? Why can't it be for Voldemort and purity or for Voldemort and blood? I think it was a really bad decision as well at the end of so many different acts to have this offstage whispering from Voldemort saying Harry Potter, because it gives the theme, the overall theme that Voldemort is coming. What's gonna happen at the end? Because we keep hearing Voldemort whisper Harry Potter and like he's coming again, but in the end he never comes. He never does anything. He's not there. It's just Delphi. What was the point of this? How is Cedric Diggory one of Harry's mistakes? Albus is blaming Harry for Cedric's death, but he had nothing to do with it. Oh, Harry, you should have been more selfish and taken the cup for yourself. I'm just gonna leave it at that because I have nothing else to say. I also had an issue with the riddles that were used when they're trying to get the time turner from Hermione's bookshelf. Specifically the one that talks about the second being the disease of the egg, and the answer is men. Are you talking about the XY chromosomes? Like, is that what you mean? Because in my opinion, like, I know some men can be annoying, but I wouldn't actually call them a disease. If Delphi is so bad and so determined to bring her father back, why does she let Albus and Scorpius go back in time without her the first time? They could do so much damage. They could even stop her from existing. Chain of events. In the end, it really frustrates me that Albus is not even cursed. There is no curse unless you actually count the fact that he's Harry Potter's son. It was so anticlimactic. Harry Potter and the cursed child. Turns out the real cursed child is all of us because we got sucked into reading the book without realizing it was gonna be crap. On page 63, it says that in the Daily Prophet, apparently every year they like to spread rumors about Voldemort's return and that he's coming back again. You do remember that when Voldemort was actually coming back, the Daily Prophet and the Wizarding World all shoved their heads in the sand along with Fudge? Like, they don't want to believe that Voldemort's coming back. You would never want that. The Daily Prophet, I cannot see them ever actually spreading those rumors. That's ridiculous. Especially since it's been 19 years and there's been no sign of him since. I don't believe that they would actually think that he's coming back. This has been longer than the last time they thought he was gone for good. And this time they've actually seen his body fall to the ground with a mundane finality. They would not spread rumors about his return, I'm sorry. It's just, they'd be like, lol, nah, he's dead. The way that Rose hates Scorpius and Scorpius literally fawns all over Rose and is desperate to try and get her to go out with him feels like a remake of Lily and James. Can you not think of any other love stories? There is so much potential here and you're just going going with the same old story of, you know, love, hate. She eventually caves in and the man gets what he wants in the end. This is meant to be the story of the next generation. We're meant to be moving on and finding out what the future holds, but the entire play revolves around being stuck in the past. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you agree with me or if you disagree and you actually have some points to add, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Please give this video a thumbs up and I'll see you next time. Ciao for now, monkeys. I watched Tarzan today though. That was amazing. Did not disappoint me like this did.